I think it's the analogy of like when you're building a website, you're building a house. You're building a place for your brand and all your things to live. And you wouldn't build a house without like an architecture plan, would you?
No.
That would be silly.
Yeah.
You wouldn't build a website without a strong foundation.
Welcome to Under the Hood.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Under the Hood, the show for sales and marketing professionals, where we divulge into the latest tech, tools, and trends that are relevant to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Gabe McCarthy, here joined by the lovely, as always, Mr. Tony Eades.
Thank you very much. I'm not Gabe McCarthy. He was on his own last time, so now he's got a full house. We felt you were a bit lonely on your own at the last episode, so we thought we'd gang up and fill the room.
Did my eyes look that sad? Yeah,
I thought there was a tear in your eye when I was zooming in a little bit.
Yeah, so of all people, I'm sure you were the one that first realized that. I was the most saddest not to have you there. But we're not joined alone, ladies and gentlemen. No. For the first time ever on Under the Hood, we have a very special guest. This guest is a HubSpot CMS expert from HubSpot themselves. Please make very welcome the lovely Elizabeth Gibbons.
Oh, thank you. It's quite an honor to, I hate to say it, kind of break your guest cherry here, but glad to have taken on the task. But yeah, I am a CMS sales specialist at HubSpot, and I'm thrilled to talk about websites today.
Oh my gosh, we are so thrilled to have you all the way from Brizzy, right?
Yep, came down from Queensland to see what's happening in our great Sydney.
A great Sydney, yes.
Great Sydney.
Great Sydney. But you're also from originally Canada. Is that right? Middle of Canada?
Yeah, I'm originally Canadian. Grew up, born and bred in Saskatchewan.
Oh, I've heard a lot about Saskatchewan, especially on that show. What's that? A Canadian show that's very famous, Fargo. Right? That comes up a lot.
That's American. That's in Dakota, but looks the same as Saskatchewan.
Looks the same.
Close enough. I'll give you brownie points for it.
Yes, nailed it. All right. My geography does not fail me.
I just did.
Yeah, I guess it did. But look, we're not here to talk about American geography.
Thank goodness for
that. No, we're actually here to talk about today's topic, which we only have 10 minutes to talk to. And if you haven't joined the show before, make sure to like and subscribe. Please do. It really helps a lot. And the rules, ladies and gentlemen, as it goes, is we have 10 minutes to talk about the topic as much as we can to it, and then we have to stop, and then we'll go into our toolkit section, which I'll tease a little bit of. One of them will be around AI website generator that is now introduced into HubSpot, but I won't talk about that much more just yet. What I want to do is reveal the episode's topic. Tony.
I like the way you tease people that they're going to wait till the very end. So you've got to watch the whole episode before you get to the toolkit bit that he was just talking about. But today's topic is, what's the real price tag for your dream website?
Oh my goodness. I like it.
Okay, shall we start? Shall I start the timer?
All you good, 10
sir. Minutes on the clock, and it starts now.
All right.
Boom.
So, Tony, you have some stats for us to share around websites.
Yeah, I thought set the scene with a couple of stats. 94% of people cited web design as the reason they mistrusted or rejected a website. 94%.
That's huge.
You know, so if you just put together a website and you don't think about the design, the look and feel, then watch out, because you're only going to get 6% of the audience. It's not a lot.
And some of the common reasons, and I'm sure, Elizabeth, you can attest to this, that we have with clients who come to us for a new website, mainly it's around sort of the brand reworking and refreshing. Maybe it's kind of old and outdated. You know, they want to modernize it. It's not a flexible website. Their rankings are terrible. There's a lot of different reasons. Are these sort of ringing true to some of the common things you see with clients who approach you for a new website?
Yeah, I think whenever it comes to website projects, it's kind of an iceberg model. So like a rebrand or a new look and feel is kind of the tip and the surface criteria, or like the symptoms of the disease. And then when you start getting under the hood and have like those most in-depth kind of consultative questions, the customer, you realize actually this site doesn't have a purpose, or they haven't. If the most crazy question you can ask someone in a website project is, what is the goal of the new website? And they'll just stare at you. And that's what I mean by issues under the surface. It's so easy to talk about the superficial things like, I don't like the color blue. But I think you start probing a bit deeper, and there's things like poor user experience. People can't find the content, can't find the, they can't search very easily what's going on with it. It's not translating. It could be really silly things like it's not connecting to the tools they use and so forth. So websites aren't just like a pretty picture. Nowadays, they really have to be functional.
Oh,
and it's
totally.
really hard to tease out information of what does functionality mean to you? What job does the website have to perform within your organization?
I think that's so important, is it? Websites used to be pretty pictures, didn't
Yes.
they? They used to just put a brochure online and say, well, there it is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of clients that we work with almost want to change their website because their competitor has, without
Yes.
actually going deeper, as you were saying. I love the iceberg model.
Yeah, that's a really good model actually, and it paints a really good picture of what we don't get asked a lot by our clients is like, how can I improve the user experience? How can I make my website a digital storefront? How can I make it a lead generator? We might actually talk to that in a future episode, but for now we won't.
Or how can your website be that silent salesperson? So like nowadays, like might be heading into some economic uncertainty. How can you make your website work harder for you and do all those kind of functions that maybe a good salesperson, a good lead would have done for you? But they're open 24/7. So the
So
website
true.
should have the same pressure to perform as any other employee on your team.
That is so true. I love the way you frame that. That was exactly what I was thinking. And I think a lot of people, when they come to us, it's usually like the key stakeholders who are looking more at the superficial versus then someone in marketing, say from an organization or sales, will think of and look at it differently. And to your point, like look at it as more like something that could be that ethereal salesperson or, the educator online that they have to, have in place to avail them a less of a lift, on a day-to-day basis. But talking a bit then to that, if you're then looking at it holistically, a website, where do you even start? Like there's so many whys. It's like, how do you figure out what needs to be done? Or where are the best starting points to bring the most value to your organization when looking to rebuild a website? And, how do you even brief that in to someone or an agency like Salted Stone?
I think it really starts with stakeholder engagement. Websites are no longer the terrain of a marketing team. They are probably under the CEO or CIO title in terms of large organizations, and everyone has a voice and everyone has a say in terms of the purpose of the website. So it's easy to talk about it from a sales perspective, but let's talk about HR. So many organizations rely on the website as a popular tool to communicate like human resource, like jobs, opportunities, culture, brand, just like the leadership team will see it through different lens. So you need to collect all those voices in like some sort of engaging, workshop-y way because all of them have a seat at that table and all of them have probably a section of the website that will need to be managed or used by them because the website is the kind of the shop front for the whole business.
Oh, so true. So true. And it's usually some of the key things people note when scouting out a new business, like a particular product or service that they're after. I think there was a stat in there, Tony, in regards to that. There was something that said like people will be deterred most of the time if like the first impression of a brand through their website throws them off.
Companies' credibility, 75% say they are making judgments based on the, company's credibility, which is based on the website design, which is so true.
Isn't that amazing? 75%.
It's huge. And I think, to your point, I think it's the aspect of really spending a bit of time because a lot of our clients don't even develop a section for, you want to work with us. They just focus on customer. They just focus on lead gen, but they forget about, the most important thing as well is how am I going to grow my team? How am I going to attract the right staff for the future?
Yeah, and then I think there's a lot of ambiguity when you go into a website project, especially when there's multiple stakeholders, multiple objectives and goals that aren't aligned, and it can create that sort of mismatch. You know what I mean? Like, I tried to word that in a sense that made it sound more chaotic than it was.
Well, it sounded completely. No one understood you.
But the brief versus the action is what I'm getting at. It's the actual expectations that are not really met at the end of the day that often can tarnish the reputation of the people who were set out to build the website, and often the people internally who then get shot down a bit because it's not meeting the stakeholders' expectations.
I think one of the things I was going to ask Elizabeth is how big should the website be or how small should the website be? Because we could keep building pages if we let everybody loose, everybody across the business from HR, as you said, to whatever. We could end up with a 50-page website. Is that an issue, or do we need to be more concise?
I don't think it is. I think what's really important, though, is the structure and the navigation of the website, so making it really easy for people to find why they're there. And that's what I meant by stakeholder engagement. Also, like, we think about the modern age. Like, it's not uncommon for websites to have 100,000 pages. Like, let's be real here. This is a real thing. And that's because, like, content is king. So a lot of this content will be evergreen. As long as it's easily searchable and findable by a reputable search engine, cough, cough, Google, then it's kind of like there is a school of thought, and this might be a bit controversial, that's like maybe we don't really have websites. Maybe it's just how do we have content presented in a way that's searchable and easily accessible by other tools, for example. So that's a school of thought. Not saying that's my school, but you can see how it can go to extremes.
It's interesting because we talked about that the other. We did one on even do you need a website? Can you do it? And we challenged that, didn't we? We went through and said, forget about what is the old traditional. Even the word website, we were coming up with different names for.
Yeah, that was the first
website.
Episode of the season 2 of Under the Hood. If you want to check it out, do you even need a website in 2023? It's a great episode.
Maybe watch that before you watch this one.
Yeah. Ideally, pause this, go there. But now let's talk about what should we be doing. Okay, so if you're paying for a website and even just the scoping of the website, is that fair to say that you should be spending a lot more time and energy and money on actually just developing out the roadmap for the website? And what should those phases even look like? I think you alluded to them a bit, Elizabeth, and things like considering new tools like AI. Is that something that we should be constantly thinking about?
I think it's the analogy of like when you're building a website, you're building a house. You're building a place for your brand and all your things to live. And you wouldn't build a house without like an architecture plan, would you?
No.
That would be silly.
Yeah.
You wouldn't build a website without a strong foundation. So in my opinion, I would say probably the planning stage is the longest stage to think through all these scenarios, make something that's future-proof. I think the age of the 2-year website's over. Like we used to rebuild websites every 2 years. Either new teams came in, new messaging, new branding. I think now it's like building a resilient website that regardless of the content, the imaging, the branding, that you have a strong structure and a strong strategy, that all those other elements are interchangeable, but you can build it once and update it, but you're not going to throw away the baby at the bathwater every 2 years. You're going to be like, this is a 5-10-year website. And what is that going to look like? And the only way you can achieve that is by being very thorough in your planning, engaging, and design practices and methodology. And also, I think, just to comment to what you said before, is people forget about the website editor experience.
Yes.
So websites are not just for people to look at. The people have to edit them.
And manage them constantly.
And manage them and make them look alive, make them look like someone's home.
Keep them relevant.
Keep them relevant. So another side of it is designing, and I don't think many people talk about this, is like, what is the editor design experience going to be like? How are they going to amend and edit these pages to get their job done in order to produce rapidly and efficient content? And that's kind of where AI comes in as well, in terms of another tool that editors can leverage to get that content up as quickly as possible and keep it accurate and keep it fresh.
So true. And then you can utilize things such in HubSpot CMS as smart content, which can be interchangeable. Personalization. And, building on a smart CMS makes sense then because you have that evergreen sort of approach, like you're saying. So constant flexibility and constant ease of use for updating. Now, those are really good points. And so getting to that point then, I think it'd be worth talking about the house. So we alluded it to before, like when you said the house example, you build out the schematics, you build out the roadmap, which funny enough at Salted Stone, we do quite comprehensively all the time. No way, I know.
Funny you should say
That's
that.
a big shocker.
Shock horror.
We are the web architects, aren't we, at the very beginning? But I agree with that. I think it makes sense because then you know where your website wants to grow, in which direction.
And where it can grow. Like you're like, we've designed this house to have a third story at some point, and we have that waiting the rings. We've also designed a house that we can, like, with an agile kind of mindset, reiterate. Like we can change the front door without having to rip the whole house down. Like those componentry really becomes important in a resilient structure.
So true, so true. So with the road mapping process, then that's exactly what you're alluding to, is site structure, figuring out every element of your future website so it's built to last. And we have some 5 key pillars, don't we, Tony? One is obviously information architecture. Oh no, we ran out of time.
So we'll have to leave it there. No, we've at least got to share the 5 now you've planted the seed.
I mean, this is our final point, so we'll end it on this. But the 5 key structural points we were talking about with website road mapping. One is information architecture. The next is
tech stack. So obviously, notice that comes after you've designed the house, is now how's the tech going to support it? Because if you go with tech first, you're kind of missing
they're
a
the
step.
fittings. They're like, what are you going to hang on the walls? What kind of kitchen are we going to have? Those are all the bits and bobs.
Or if you design the whole house around the kitchen, it's probably not the right way to go.
And the key third pillar is user experience, because obviously everything that makes your website perform well is how good it can be used by your users, your personas. So that's a key thing to note, especially within the design process. And then that leads into visual language.
Visual language. And as you said, knowing the personas. Who is it that's looking at this website and how can I tailor the content visually and also the written content specifically back to that smart content, back to really understanding the personas.
And that goes into then driving user behavior. So that's a really key thing to note as well on the brands, like also making sure that it aligns to your brand digitally. A lot of people, like to slap the colors and, fonts and whatnot they think work, but honestly, like they don't translate well digitally, even from a, good user experience point of view.
Yeah.
So that's
like having a pink house in the street. Doesn't look good.
That might be the right curb appeal though for your user. That might be exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Correct.
But maybe unintentionally.
Well, we should test and validate that they want the pink house and the curb appeal.
So true.
Right.
So true. If you're getting the right audience to that pink house, then, by all means, keep it the same. But if you're not, you should rethink the whole visual aspect. That's for sure.
And that should come out in the strategy, right?
Yes.
Back to what you were saying before, spend more time, because I like that. Spend more time at the beginning before you actually start building the house is like all of that stuff at the very beginning.
And it saves you lots of money.
Oh, so
I
true.
hate to say it, but let's talk about dollars and cents. A good planning stage, even though that may require an investment, but that will save you heaps because it's way more. It's easy to reiterate a document or a design or redo that. But when it comes to development time, like if you're redoing pieces, that's a big commitment, and that's ripping out good work that's just no longer relevant. It's much more cost effective to plan up front and then to execute.
Yeah, a perfect example to that is someone who, like, say, brings on an agency to spend 10 grand at a time to reiterate the website each and every time, maybe every 3 or 6 months, versus then if they just spend like 30 grand or 50 grand or whatever just to do it once, it lasts 5 years, as you were alluding to, Elizabeth.
You're going to save so much money if you like really think it through and then think about where it's going to be headed and have kind of like a digital roadmap strategy.
So true. And that brings us to our last point about just making sure you have an itemized breakdown of all your key elements there, understanding that there's no ambiguity, there's full stakeholder buy-in. I think that's a really key thing to know. Everyone's on the same page, expectations are met, and there's a clear direction. So a timeline, clear milestones and deliverables. In 6 months you're going to be at X position. So let's end it there.
I was just going to say
one final point.
One final point. There's always one final point.
There's always one final point.
Just be realistic about the budget, because as you were kind of highlighting some numbers, and as Elizabeth was just saying, investing in there. Because I think a lot of times it's a challenge for us when we talk to a client and we say, look, this part here is going to be X amount of dollars to do all the planning. And they're going, but I actually want the money spent on building the house. You're going, well, as you grow, you're going to save money on building the house by investing it up front. So be realistic about your budget, because you're building something for the future. It's not just as you said before, a 2-year website. This is a lifetime growth website to mirror the growth of your business.
So
Just
true.
A quick point to that one. I also think that like when a customer comes to do like a very in-depth scoping and process, they're actually mining your expertise. So instead of thinking of it as like, oh, well, I'm just going to get a couple hours to plan this website, think about actually you're getting thousands of hours. Like you and your team have worked for like years in this industry. So what they're actually getting is all that back information that you can bring to the table on that day. And that's kind of priceless in many ways, if you think about it the other way around.
And usually the higher price tag means you only have to do it once as opposed to 3 times, which...
We hope.
Yeah, which is often the case if you do it through this process, as we explained. But if you want to see an example online of one of our case studies that I'm going to read out here, check out Developing an Award-Winning Big Commerce Website to Bring a Brand into Focus. That's one of our key case studies we did with this exact process. We went through the website road mapping, visual identification, understanding exactly what the key stakeholders all were expecting and everyone internally agreed to, and then the execution of such made it that we not only delivered on a great website, it's an awesome website, you should definitely check it out, but also that we won some awards from it too, which was really cool.
Awards are good.
Yeah.
Impact Awards, were they? HubSpot Awards?
They weren't up actually. They were
Big Commerce Awards.
Yeah, well, there were separate online awards for website design and whatnot. That was our North America team. Kudos to them. But man, we really did well with that final version.
Social proof.
Social proof. Exactly.
Awesome.
But with that said, now we're going to dive in, Elizabeth, to one of our favorite sections, which is the toolkit.
I'm like,
There's a sound effect that comes in, and it's not just us.
For everyone watching at home on YouTube especially, Elizabeth just like sat there just like, what happens now?
Yeah. She's kind of looking around the podcast studio for, I don't know,
confetti.
Balloons to fly down or confetti.
I was expecting a confetti gun.
Well, a confetti gun. Okay, remember that for next time.
Next time.
Confetti
Yes,
gun
you
for
have to have a
toolkit.
confetti gun.
We do. One of those ones that you explode and it just, it's really confronting. Yeah.
And then you can clean it all up before the next people come in.
See, I do everything on this show. I write the show, I clean up, I set up. These guys just
And I
show
take
up.
all the glory, and
Yeah.
Elizabeth's
You're a
going to
man
take
of
it
many
back.
talents.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. You could learn a thing or two from that appreciation, Tony.
Oh, thank you. Gabe, we love you and all the work that you do.
Oh, stop.
And we got it on tape as well, so that you can play it back whenever you feel that you're neglected in any way.
Thank you, Tony. Sorry, Lenny, can you just edit that separately and send it to me so I can look at it whenever I'm sad? Thank you.
That's his mantra to play every morning. All right, toolkit time.
Toolkit time. Tony, you have this really cool one called Video, and I know all about this one because we use it a lot.
I know you do, yes. I let you into the video world. So it's video as in VIDYO.ai.
Oh.
I mean, all of these are .ai now. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. But what is it? Basically, you can make short videos from long ones instantly. Now, without any editing tools, without an editor, sorry, Lenny, without using any of those departments, you upload the full video. So in this case, the under the hood video, upload it and AI does the rest. It actually breaks that down, chunks the video down into short pieces of content. It also comes complete with auto video captioning. So you've got the words on there and they're the right size for any of your social channels. So TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook or Twitter, or is it X now? I think it's X.
Well, it's my ex now because I don't want to talk to it. So, yeah.
All right. So pre-Twitter, X is there now. And basically you create these branded templates as well. So they're all on brand. So we create it. We've actually been using it for the Under the Hood social. So you can actually see it in live use on any of the social channels of Under the Hood. So check it out, video.ai, a great way for you to create content for your social channels and do it really easily thanks to AI.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, AI, again, for once more taking over some of the laborious work that we need to do in our day-to-day. And hopefully you'll stay there and not take over our jobs completely. But
you still need to upload the original video, right?
I
so
guess
you
that's
got to
true.
create the content. So that's still there.
There'll be a day where they can just take it from the camera and, do with it what they will. We won't even need
Let's
to do
hope
that.
not.
Yeah.
I can't wait for AI, Tony. He's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what'll
Oh.
make you?
I'm sure he'll be more agreeable, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I actually have a digital twin that I'll send you. So
Oh,
we've already
don't-
created that. So
don't-
don't get him started on
Don't
that.
get him started on the bloody digital twin. Oh, my goodness. It's scary as hell. I want to go look at my toolkit now, if that's okay.
Please do.
Which is something that we use internally. I thought it was quite prudent to bring it up for this episode because it actually ties into our whole website road mapping process and also web project process that we have internally at Salted Stone, which is using the tools within Airtable. Airtable.com, I think that's what the URL is. Go check it out. Basically, it is like a live Excel spreadsheet, but on steroids. And we use it as a project management tool. We also use it for a scoping tool. But primarily, like with website projects, it's really great for managing hours, tasks, communication, file sharing,
A
literally.
planning stage, perhaps, for your website project.
Exactly.
Excellent,
Yep.
excellent.
And it's really good. You can even put like dollar figures in there to show like where all the hours are accumulating to a certain cost value, and it can break it up into very minute detail in every section, even by department too. So I mean, we've been using it for years now, and obviously it doesn't come out of the box that way, but it has so much potential for you and your teams like to interact with clients with certain permission settings, so they can't go in there and break it. I think it's a really great tool, and we don't talk about it enough. So I wanted to unveil it. Airtable, check it out, especially for if you're doing any sort of website related projects and keeping all your comms in one place. Like it's great because nothing ever gets lost. I find that a lot of people still utilize email way too much, and you often just get completely lost in the sea of emails about where one part of one project is versus where it is at one stage, where the feedback needs to be. If you keep it all in Airtable, you completely erase that problem. So check it out.
So
Airtable.
that'll help me with the 10,000 emails that I still have sort of semi-open on my inbox.
Yeah, true. Or you could just answer them.
No, AI Tony will do that.
Oh, that's true. His
He
digital
doesn't
twin.
have to.
Yeah.
The
Where
twin
you're
will
selling
take
up.
care
Yeah,
of his
you're
emails,
on to Elizabeth. That's the whole plan. I'm
Yeah,
not even going
Tony.
to turn up next time.
But now, Elizabeth, over to you, our first ever guest toolkit.
Well, I recommend. Well, since I'm from HubSpot, I would recommend.
You've got a very impressive toolkit because I saw
Yes,
you bring it
yes.
in like you needed 3 people to carry this toolkit in.
Yes. No. But I just wanted to remind the audience that maybe you haven't looked at the content management system in HubSpot for a while. Maybe you're like, oh, I checked it out a couple of years ago. I would encourage everyone to go have a look again with fresh eyes. The product's improved a lot. Especially, you may not know, there is a free edition of CMS available. So I encourage people to go have a try before you buy. But in addition to that, I'm not sure how across your audience is with Inbound and the big announcements that Yamini came out, which are AI geared. We do have coming in the next couple of months a AI website generator.
Ooh, exciting.
So definitely worth checking out the free edition, and then definitely keeping an eye on the free edition for when the AI generator is available to the public. But basically, one click, make a one-page website, put in information, choose your style. It will generate the content for you. So really taking the pain. But obviously, we want you to plan a great website with Salted Stone for 5 years. But for maybe some of our smaller businesses or people who want to just kind of have a go or try out the CMS product, I think this is a great kind of entry point to check it out and see if it works for you.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's going to replace the whole process of building a website. No. We saw, when I was at Inbound, I just came back there from Boston and I saw some demonstrations of it. It's still at the very sort of junior, basic stages. And it's obviously still in beta, but it does has potential, like you said, for more of a quick fire approach. It definitely won't be accommodating all your needs for a website, but it definitely has potential. I think it's leaning towards that, but it's not trying to take away any of the work that the partners like us, Salted Stone, are doing to build out really great comprehensive websites.
I think it's a great indication of HubSpot's commitment to innovation. Like if you told me 5 years ago we'd be making websites through AI, I'd be like, nah, you're dreaming. But nowadays, I think it's coming. It's sooner than we think it is. Things are moving so quickly. So I think it's really exciting that we're committed to kind of the next wave of what do websites look like in the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff, honestly. But with that said, we want to just thank Elizabeth for being on our podcast.
Yeah, for coming all this way out from Canada.
It was so far.
Or Vegas, let's be true.
From Brisbane. It's been such a great chat. And I really like the work you're doing. And check out that case study. It's really impressive. Really well written, too. It's hard to write a case study. But that one's really engaging and really validates that you guys are doing excellent work.
Oh, thanks, Elizabeth.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, really thank you for joining us, coming all this way, like we said. And if you like this episode, Elizabeth, and you'd like to see more of her or just more of this topic.
More of Elizabeth.
I can come
Vote
back.
now.
I can come back.
Yeah, she could be back,
back,
but we need
Quarterly visit.
we need your confidence, our audience. So please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let us know if you enjoyed having Elizabeth on the show. I'm sure you'll be sharing this with all your HubSpot colleagues.
Oh, it's going to be wildfire. Wildfire.
Yeah. This is where we go viral now that we've had a special guest in.
Internally.
Internally viral. Is that the right thing? Can you go internally viral? I suppose you can.
I don't know. Probably you can. We're a big team.
We are. Yeah, you guys are a huge team. I met a lot of you in Boston. It was a lovely event. I really appreciate it.
And you probably hugged everybody, didn't you?
I did.
Is this where you plug your hug?
Yeah, exactly.
Your user group?
A user group, a HubSpot user group.
Yeah, so they're going to fly to Sydney to be part of the next HubSpot user group.
Well, they better. They made some promises that I hope they're keeping to. But with that said, this is the end of today's episode, but we want to announce the topic for the next episode. So, Tony, would you like to do the... Oh, sure.
It's always exciting to announce the next one because we try and come up with something a little bit interesting, a little bit different. So the title of the next episode is Unlock the Secret Formula. Convert your site, that's your website, into a lead magnet.
Ooh.
Tune in and find out what that all means.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This has been Under the Hood. Thanks again, Elizabeth Gibbons, for being on our episode this week. We appreciate you, and tune in for the next episode of Under the Hood. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.